Hope you like corned beef and sauerkraut, because this week's political figure episode is a pretty good Ruben. Sorry, it's the best I could come up with for this one. Arizona's Ruben Gallego, which I'm very glad I looked up the pronunciation of because it's spelled Gallego, and I definitely would have pronounced it incorrectly this entire video. Ruben was born November 20th, 1979, which makes him almost a millennial and about 2.5 centuries younger than the average age of the Senate, which he is currently running for. Gallo is a second-generation American of Colombian and Mexican heritage, raised by a single mom. Gallo graduated from Evergreen Park Community High School and then went on to get his Bachelor's of International Relations from Harvard. Like every Harvard graduate, after receiving his fancy new degree, he went and joined the Marines. Ruben then deployed for a combat tour to Iraq, where his battalion lost 47 men, including his best friend. After returning home and settling in Arizona, he started getting involved in local politics by serving as the chief of staff for a Phoenix city councilman. In 2010, he was elected to the Arizona State House, representing Arizona's 16th district. Ruben was pretty quickly recognized as a distinguished up-and-coming lawmaker when he got a bill passed that gave in-state tuition status to veterans and service members residing in the state of Arizona. In 2012, he's elected as the House Assistant Minority Leader. During this time, he also founded the group Citizens for Professional Law Enforcement, which went after Sheriff Joe Arpaio and his unconstitutional immigration policies and him illegally using taxpayer money to investigate Barack Obama's citizenship. Because, investigating the president who was born in Hawaii is definitely the job of an Arizona sheriff. In 2014, he ran for the U.S. House of Representatives in Arizona's 7th District and won. During his tenure in Congress, he's gotten a few bills passed through the House that are designed to improve Native American and tribal life and relations. He's also been a strong proponent of veteran service and support, and especially Natives' veteran service and support, because apparently it can get tricky with the VA and tribal health services trying to deal with each other. Now, with Dino Nugget Kristen Sinema announcing that she was no longer going to cosplay as a Democrat or run for re-election, Ruben has announced his campaign for her Senate seat. Now, Ruben is shaping up to be an excellent candidate with some solid legislative experience as a state rep and a U.S. rep. He's a strong proponent of education and has written legislation that would help better fund schools and recruit and retain teachers. He believes in better funding and access to education from pre-K all the way through college. He's a vocal proponent of acknowledging that science is real and, we should maybe do something about climate change. Also had a pretty strong voting record on climate change legislation. He's a big proponent of women's rights and making sure that they have access to health care and reproductive care. He's been very vocal about needing to get money and lobbying out of politics. However, his wife is a lobbyist for the National Realtors Association or whatever, which is slightly problematic. And he's also gone on at least one lobbyist-funded trip to Qatar, which is also kind of problematic. But when he ran for Congress, he was also endorsed by an anti-super PAC, which is a thing, believe it or not. So while I do wish he did a little bit better job of walking the walk on this particular issue, it does at least seem like he's more in the right place than any other options in this race. And then on the big foreign policy issue going on right now, he has called for a ceasefire, but he has really straddled the fence on this issue the whole time. He has also voted in support of us continuing to send the stuff that they're using to not do a ceasefire. But it does seem like he's at least acknowledging or coming around on the issue, and again, still is at least somewhat better than any viable alternative. He's pro-environmental protection. He's pro-LGBTQ rights and protections. He's pro-immigration reform that gives immigrants a path to legal residency while also maintaining border security, which is an important issue for an Arizona senator. He's very pro-tribal and native rights. He's pro-minority, equity, and equality. He's pro-voting rights, voting access, and just a general fan of democracy, which is, cool and apparently something we need to qualify these days. And also very anti-Putin, which I also didn't realize would be a thing we'd ever have to have political clarification on in American politics, but here we are. Anyway, Ruben's often labeled as a progressive. I personally would call him a bit more of a moderate, but I do think that he's an excellent choice for Arizona, especially considering what he'll likely be running against. Kari Lake, who is a former TV personality turned anti-women's rights, anti-science, anti-democracy, anti-immigrant, anti-LGBTQ, white nationalist endorsing, pro-fascism, propaganda peddling conspiracy nut who is an election denier not only for, the election that all of the other Republicans were denying, but also for her own failed attempt at being governor. I don't even know why the Republicans are bothering holding a primary for Senate in Arizona, because that's like their dream candidate right there. She's basically just Trump in a Karen wig who chose a slightly less tangerine toned spray tan. So Arizona, make good choices in November. Just remember, John McCain's looking down, guys, and you know how much he's gonna judge you if you guys choose Ku Klux Kari over a combat vet who actually has a proven track record of fighting for the residents of Arizona.